Yo, what is up, guys? This is Tone here, the coach of the Maine Clawitzers, bringing you my draft recap for Season 3 of the National Pokeball League Minors. Now, it has been a long time coming between Season 2 and Season 3. In Season 2, we took over for someone who unfortunately couldn't finish out the season. So I ended up taking over that team, and we did pretty decently with that team, going 3-2. Not bad on my account, but this time around, the league itself had its tryout tournament. They got together a lot of solid league battlers and basically held a tryout for people to come in for Season 3 of the NPL Minors. I, of course, as a returning coach from Season 2, I am coming back for a full season. I drafted my own team this time with some minor, not really minor, some similarities, I guess, if you want to put it that way, between the team I had last season when I had Mega Pitchot plus Sand, and between this team. It's kind of, I don't want to say it's all over the place, because I feel as though the team is diverse in its own right, as I'll get into as I explain my reasoning behind all the mods I picked. So without further ado, I'm just gonna jump right into the draft, and then I will go over the scheduling and all that stuff. So before I actually go any further into the team, every team has at least 11 Pokemon on their team, with the exception of people who have taken a Pokemon in the so-called Carny tier. And what the Carny tier is basically a list of Pokemon, like a list of underrated or undervalued Pokemon that are not per se bad in league format, but are necessarily good enough to be drafted on a regular basis on standard teams. They usually get passed over for other stuff that does their job better. So if you draft a Carny tier mon in round 9 or earlier, you get to draft a 12th Pokemon, which also has to be from the Carny tier. And for this, I will reveal what Pokemon I picked in the Carny tier as I go along. I actually picked 2. So with all that being said, now I get into the recap of the team that I drafted. So the draft order was randomized, and we ended up with the 4th pick overall. I don't really like drafting very early, because you're forced to pick a mon and then wait an eternity for your next pick. And by then, all the strategies you had in your head just go out the door, because this mon's gone. I had to wait at least about 25-26 picks before it came back to me, and then I guess about another 6 picks to get back to me on the wheel. So it was a little bit frustrating that some of the mons I actually wanted were gone, but at the same time I didn't really feel like I was sniped considering my position. So that being said, the 4th pick in the draft I had, and looking at all the stuff that went ahead of me, number 1 pick was Magearna, number 2 was Mega Kangaskhan. And just to clarify, Mega Kangaskhan was allowed, but it does not, Seismic Toss was banned on Mega Kangaskhan. So just to clarify, so it's not that big of a menace for everyone else, and for the most part. And number 3 was Kieran Black. So I figured myself, number 4, I go after a wall breaker, something I am very familiar with, and it's something kind of like tried and true in my case, because I drafted it a lot in other league formats, and it's become a broken record to some people I know. But if you see a good Pokemon and you want to try and it fits your style, you pick that Pokemon. Not saying that I don't like picking other stuff, but if you're just comfortable picking a Pokemon, then you just go for it, and you get that nice safety net, especially considering that I knew his Pokemon wouldn't come back to me round 2. So with the 4th pick in Season 3 of the NPL Minors, I selected my Manaphy. Now, I don't really have to go over what Manaphy does in general. Tail Glow, Scald, list of coverage options for days, Ice Beam, Energy Ball, Shadow Ball, Dazzling Gleam, and then getting a new toy being the access to the Z crystals, and each team has access to can select 3 Pokemon to be Z move eligible, offensive moves only, no status moves, and of course Manaphy is one of my Z mons. Not going to go too much into detail because pretty much anyone who watches this knows how Manaphy works. It can Tail Glow, it can Calm Mind, all that stuff. Well, not really Calm Mind in the sense that the new Pokemon did kind of hinder the Crowfeast set a bit, but the fact that I can fire off Z Bloom Doom, Z Sub-Zero Slammer, Twinkle Tackle, Never Ending Nightmares, the list goes on and on in terms of coverage options for Manaphy, and even firing off a powerful Z Hydro Vortex coming off a Surf is just great for breaking past those bulkier Pokemon, especially if you get to +3. So I'm not going to complain about that. So it's for the rest of the draft. Then it gets to the point where I picked a lot of different Pokemon that I've used somewhat, but not to the point where I'm completely familiar with it, and I wanted to figure I'd try it out now. So when round 2 came around, I decided I'd go for something that complemented Manaphy, but at the same time something I've hardly used before in Draft League format. So I figured I'd go after my Mega round 2 because I feared that if I got back to me, I would lose it. And I was really debating 2 Mega Evolutions at this point. One was picked in round the one I passed over was picked in round 3 by Aster and Mega Diancie. So I settled with, for my Mega, I settled with Mega Charizard X. And the reasoning behind Mega Charizard X, I know the Stealth Rock weakness is immense pre-Mega, as it's 4 times weak to Stealth Rock, but Manaphy Zard X does cover plenty of Pokemon in the tier. Mainly, they can break down stuff like, they can combine to break down like Tapu Fini, which lacks recovery, as Charizard Bar Thunder Punch, Zardex Bar Thunder Punch can't touch Tapu Fini that hard, and then Manaphy gets Energy Ball deal with Tapu Fini too. The one thing that they both fear is if they both set up that Tapu Fini has Haze, but Tapu Fini's Haze, Tapu Fini's lack of recovery makes it a little bit easier for me to wear down. So that's just one of the Pokemon in general that Manaphy plus Zardex can cover pretty decently. But Fire type in general is very, very nice. And I have 2/3 of the Fire Water Grass Core, and I already have my starting point for Dragon Fairy Steel. So the main thing I have to look forward to is just making sure I have some hazard removal for Charizard pre-Mega. So moving on to round 3 of the draft, I figured I needed something extra to complement not only Charizard X but Manaphy as well, and I figured I needed some sort of Pursuit Trapper, as Zardex is, if Zardex has to have a Dragon Dance boost, it's pressured by faster dragon types like the Lottie twins, and Manaphy struggles with like fat psychics if I don't have a Tail Glow, but I have ran some other crazy stuff on Manaphy in the past. But I figured that going along this route, I figured I'd get a Pokemon that can complement both of them very, very nicely in terms of not only providing something like a Pursuit Trapper, but also gives me a Stealth Rocker and a very, very solid mod in general. And it's one of those Pokemon that's not limited to one particular set, like Manaphy and Charizard X. They're not limited to just being offensive sets, offensive sweepers. They both can go the defensive route, and my 3rd round pick can do the exact same thing. And with that, my round 3 pick ended up being the Tyranitar. So Tyranitar, Stealth Rocks, can run Choice Band, Choice Scarf, Sandstream, great ability, boost that special defense. Not really much else to say about Tyranitar because simply because once you see a Tyranitar, depending on what set it runs, you can I'm either completely walled by something, or I have coverage for whatever Charizard and Manphy lacks, which is fairly nice. Especially in this new Draft League format when you're including all the Gen 7 Mons. The main issue to worry about here probably would be the fact that there are some Pokemon in particular that can handle this sort of Zardex T-Tar core, especially like fast ground types or ground types in general, as you'll see the rest of my draft. Tyranitar is just bulky altogether. Special attack is nothing to laugh at. It's very respectable, base 95. Can support with moves like Thunder Wave. Like I said, gets Stealth Rocks, Pursuit. The list goes on and on. It's not really much else to say about that. I'm just like rambling, and I don't really feel like repeating myself over and over again. So, moving on round number 4. The main thing I wanted with my round 4 pick was something that made it easier for Manaphy and Charizard to potentially set up. So at the same time, I want to get a ground resist right away. So I wanted something that provided me with utility and a ground resist all in one. And the list of options was limited, but there was one Pokemon that fit the bill in terms of utility, plus making it easier for my setup sweepers. And with that, my round 4 pick ended up being the Celebi. Now, Celebi, like Manaphy and like my other Pokemon, isn't limited to just doing one specific thing. And Celebi is probably the most unpredictable of my draft, because I don't have to bring it fully physical. Fully special with like Giga Drain, Earth Power. I can run Swords Dance with Seed Bomb. I can Sub Pass, Baton Pass boost, probably do like Weakness Policy or whatnot. And Celebi is also my second Pokemon that I've selected to be Z eligible. So to go along with the coverage options that Celebi has with Earth Power, just to list one of his coverage moves, Dazzling Gleam, Swords Dance, then Headbutt might be a thing I might do, who knows. And gets a bunch of support options. Trick with a choice item, Cripple, Walls, Healing Wish to heal back up my setup Mons, Sub Pass to make it easier for my Manaphy, and Charizard to set up. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun trying out Celebi, simply because I've never used Celebi in Draft League format, and the last time I fought a Celebi, it almost aided in a sweep. When I battled Eric, aka Heavy Metal Pokemon, almost destroyed me with Weakness Policy, Calm Mind, Baton Pass to Mega Pidgeot, and that almost destroyed me. So yeah, I've seen Celebi put in work, and now I'm hoping it put in work for me. So moving on now, round number 5. I have a ground resist, and I also really need to get hazard removal because I have a Charizard. I also wanted to pick something fast, mainly pick something fast because I don't really have anything particularly fast. I have Celebi, I have Charizard, and I have Manaphy at base 100 speed, but I need something to break past 120 while providing me with hazard removal. And the only Pokemon that gave me hazard removal was fast and can defog was Crobat. So Crobat is my round 5 pick and is my third and final Pokemon I have selected for as my Z-Mon. So my Z-Mons, the Z eligible Mons on my team, Manaphy, Celebi, and Crobat. So Crobat provides me with defog support, necessary hazard removal, also gives me a ground immunity, which is nice because my ground resist prior was Celebi, which I didn't want to make it a habit of drafting. It has become a bad habit on my end of picking up. I've picked up great mons, but one of the main flaws was the lack of a decent ground resist. So yeah, it can defog, choice banded Brave Bird is great, Infiltrator is solid, Inner Focus for like fake out or whatnot. So base 130 speed can't go wrong with that. So yeah, there's not much else to say about Crobat either, because other than choice band, it can run like taunt to prevent slower Pokemon from setting up hazards or whatnot. It gets roosts and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's my Crobat in a nutshell. So now we move on to round number 6, and round number 6, Crobat does get access to U-turn, so I kind of wanted to form sort of a Volturn core in a sense, and I wanted something to complement the entire team in general. And while this my round 6 Pokemon, it's not really, it is a solid mon in general. It's basically hindered by its speed and its pretty lackluster move pool, but the typing in general is just great. And now I have another Pokemon weak to ground, but it did fit the team pretty well in my estimation. So with my round 6 pick, I ended up going with Magnezone. Like I said, Magnezone, it's great, base 130 special attack, but its move pool is absolute crap. Other than Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Flash Cannon, and then pick a hidden power, not much else you can run, but stuff like Magnet Rise, Thunder Wave, Mirror Coat can mix it up with like a Resist Berry, and then retaliate with with Mirror Coat, stuff like that. So yeah, it's not going to be like, it's not completely rocket science how Magnezone works. Most of the time you're going to see it either be Choice Specs or Choice Scarf. I might do like T-Wave 3 attacks just to slow down some faster threats, stuff I can switch into. But the typing is nice, the resistance is nice, a fairy switch in, very, very necessary for these teams. And I have 2/3 of my Dragon Fairy Steel core down with Zardex plus Magnezone. And Magnezone is also nice because it can it doesn't necessarily need to trap steel types, because nothing on my team really struggles with steel types, bar potentially Crobat can struggle with like Skarmory, but I can just U-turn out. Celebi has Earth Power, T-Tar gets Earthquake and Superpower, Charizard it's a Fire type, and Manaphy can potentially Scald or HP Fire. So yeah, so now we move on to round number 7, and with my round 7 pick, I have Magnezone give me electric resist, but I didn't have an electric immunity. And that did kind of hinder my process a little bit because I didn't have that solid electric switching. I didn't have anything that stopped my opponent from freely spamming Volt Switch, as my resistance was Magnezone, Celebi, and Charizard. Magnezone especially doesn't have access to reliable recovery, so it can be switch fodder and then switch into stuff like Dugtrio to get trapped. So didn't want that to happen. So with my round 7 pick, I ended up going with the Diggersby. So Diggersby may not be like the most ideal switching because it's more of an offensive electric check, but I can put an Assault Vest on it and it can take on electric types fairly decently. Mostly I want to be using it offensively, like it's supposed to be. Huge power, you can't pass it up. Priority with quick attack. Another thing the main thing I didn't really have with the first 6 mons was something with access to powerful priority. Diggersby quick attack did fit the bill very, very nicely, and I needed a ground type. Like I said, I didn't have an electric switch in, so this could be an electric check. Very powerful wall breaker, helps Zardex. Choice Bandit return, Choice Bandit EQ, knockoff, elemental punches, can't go wrong with that. Again, not really much to say. Most of the Pokemon I drafted here are like very cut and dry. Not really cut and dry, but they're very self-explanatory in how they're run. Most of them has been around for a few years now, and the meta has settled down quite a bit to how they're run specifically, especially with Gen 7 up in full swing and the tiers starting to set themselves up. So that's a different story altogether. But nevertheless, round 8 came around, and while I did have Diggersby here as an electric check, I wanted a backup electric check. And this is also going to be my Carney tier Pokemon. And this Pokemon is very, very, very bulky. Probably pretty much the better electric check between Diggersby and my round 8 pick. And like Diggersby, also gets priority and gives me another Stealth Rocker. So I'm not forced to run Stealth Rocks on either my Tyranitar or my Celebi. And with that, my round 8 pick is the Carney tier Pokemon in the Piloswine. Now, Piloswine may be weird because I now have back-to-back ground types, but the Ice Ground typing is very, very nice. Thick Fat is very solid of an ability, pretty much neutralizing its fire weakness. It doesn't take that much damage. The fighting weakness is mitigated by Crobat and Celebi. I drafted a lot of fighting weak mons. Spoiler alert. This is no exception, but this Piloswine does function very, very nicely. Offensive tank sets are very nice because they're bulky enough. It's bulky enough to take a hit, and the hits they dish back are just as powerful. And it's just slap on an Eviolite and then watch it just take hits for days. This is actually the first time I drafted Piloswine in the Draft League format, so it's going to be very, very fun to try this out. So now we move on to round number 9. The main thing I was lacking on my team, looking at my team, I drafted a lot of physical attackers. Like, my only special attackers were Manaphy, for the most part Celebi, and Magnezone. So I have a lot of physical attackers, and I didn't really have anything to switch into status moves. I had Zard to switch into Will-O-Wisp, but if Stealth Rocks are up, that's basically Zard taking 25% if it's already mega'd, losing half itself if it's pre-mega'd. And I did Rain Dance Manaphy can also take on status, but I didn't want to rely on Rain Dance Manaphy to be bred every single week to deal with status moves, especially something like Toxic Spikes. So I figured something that can take advantage of being status would be nice in this situation, while also giving me a third priority user in the sense. So with that, my round 9 pick ended up being the Conkeldurr. Now, with Conkeldurr, backed by 3 great abilities in Guts, Iron Fist, and Sheer Force, I can pretty much bring any of those abilities. I can run Choice Band, mostly in this, bring an Assault Vest. That's pretty much it, in the sense that, so Conkeldurr's main role is just to provide the team with a way to switch into stuff like Scalds, without having to go directly into stuff like Manaphy, Natural Cure, Celebi, and all that stuff. And getting access to Drain Punch to go along with Guts, just keep itself healthy. And it gives me another knockoff user and a knockoff absorber, which is another nice thing about Conkeldurr, is the ability to switch in on knockoffs, even though losing its item does suck. Having that sort of dark resist, and then something to pressure out those steel types without having to rely on Magnezone to trap them, is also something another reason why I drafted Conkeldurr. So that is round 9. So now round 10, and I figured that I have T-Tar with Sand. I have Tyranitar. It sets the Sand, drafts something to abuse it. And the only Pokemon left that fit my team that can abuse the Sand and become A pretty underrated threat is, of course, none other than the PU god of Stoutland. Now, Stoutland, if I didn't draft T-Tar, of course I wouldn't have drafted Stoutland, but Sandrush Stoutland is nothing to sneeze at. Though Exegro is the preferred better Sandrush sweeper, and then there's also Lycanroc Midday. Stoutland in its own right, just an underrated sweeper and Pokemon in general, because not only is this thing pretty darn fast, it is pretty darn strong with Choice Band Sandrush, and if not prepared for Stoutland, it can just run through your team. I have shown in the past of how deadly Sandrush can be under the right scenario. Also getting the ability in Scrappy to hit those ghost types, so I don't necessarily have to bring Sandrush Stoutland every single week. And it also gives me another status absorber, as I can use Stoutland to switch in on Will-O-Wisps and Toxics and fire off Banded Scrappy Facades, which pretty much anyone who's played PU in Gen 6 or even now in the speculation meta as of right now can attest to how much of a pain it is for a Pokemon to switch in on Stoutland. That's pretty much Stoutland in a nutshell. Just a Sandrush sweeper makes up for my sort of lack of speed, so to speak. Even though I do have 3 priority users. So yeah, that is Stoutland. So now round 11 came, and the one thing I noticed throughout my draft is the fact that I did not complete the Dragon Fairy Steel Core. So I basically needed to pick a Fairy type now, and there were 2 options for Fairy types. The first one I was contemplating was Granbull, but seeing as though I had a crap ton of physical attackers, Granbull didn't really fit the team. So I went with the other option available, and some may see this as sort of a unorthodox or somewhat of a meme pick. I do actually like this Pokemon, and the Fairy type I ended up sticking with is the Comfey. Now, Comfey may seem out of place on a team like this, but Comfey does benefit from most of the Pokemon on my team, specifically in Magnezone, as Magnezone can trap Steel types for Comfey. I can run Calm Mind Comfey. Triage is a great ability, giving me that priority Draining Kiss, priority Synthesis, can U-turn for utility, can Leech Seed, and then U-turn out to another Pokemon. It gives me that added recovery. Base 100 speed, and then the ability to taunt slower Pokemon and act as a stall breaker is extremely nice. So I'm not completely, so Comfey isn't completely overwhelmed by like bulky walls that I struggle to get past, because mostly it's going to be used in a support role. So having that sort of support, like having that sort of ability to taunt slower mons, prevent it from setting up, is extremely nice. And it does complement most of the other Pokemon, as well as Comfey does provide me with a solid win condition, so I don't have to rely on Manaphy or Celebi, and Celebi can sub-pass the Comfey, make it easier for it to set up Calm Minds. The Poison and Steel weakness is also covered very nicely on my team with Comfey, so it's not that big of a deal. And I just wanted to try it. It's something that I personally was thinking about as the draft came to an end. I just saw it sitting there, and I'm like, okay, I need a Fairy type. I wanted a utility mon, and next thing you know, Comfey was just sitting there, and I'm like, okay, I'll take Comfey. There was Whimsicott available too, but at the same time, I had Celebi, and I didn't want 2 grass type Pokemon, especially with the stacked weaknesses. It didn't make any sense to take Whimsicott. So that is my round 11 pick, and for my last pick, round number 12, which had to be a Carnivore Pokemon, I decided round 12 was the fact that I needed another hazard remover. At the moment, my only way of getting rid of hazards was Crobat, and having to bring Crobat with defog every single time I brought it would have been very, very stressful, especially considering it's one of my Z-Mons. So, figured that I bring another, drafting another defogger would make the most sense here. As if I can't draft a Rapid Spinner, I can't spin block because I didn't draft a Ghost type. So I figured just to get another defogger, and then in the current tier I was stuck with 2 options for my defogger. One of them was Lurantis. I did consider Lurantis, but like I said, double grass types. I mean I did end up doubling up on typing regardless of this last pick. So I figured I needed a defogger with some momentum and some sort of immunity. So I decided with my last pick, I decided on the Lumineon. And Lumineon is very, very awkward in a situation in Draft League format. But Lumineon does get access to defog. It can U-turn, provide a slow pivot if I don't run speed on it. Scald, Toxic, Ice Beam. The coverage options aren't really there, but the main thing I want to be using is as a bulky defogging pivot, so to speak. So essentially, like it's a worse Tapu Fini with access to U-turn, if I want to put it that way. So yeah, that is the team that I drafted for Season 3 of the NPL Minors. There are some flaws, obviously, with the fact that the only thing stopping my opponent from clicking Earthquake is the fact that I have a Crobat, and Celebi is my ground resist. The other thing probably is the fact that my speed tiers are kind of bunched together, as I have a Crobat at 130 and then 4 Pokemon at base 100. But I do have triple priority in Conkeldurr, Diggersby, and Piloswine. So there's that. So now moving on to the divisions, or the conferences, so to speak, which is good news and bad news, so to speak, in my case. Because the bad news is the conferences came out, and fortunately for me, I do not have to play, I don't have to go up against Kyurem Black and Mega Kangaskhan because they're in the other conference. So that's kind of a huge weight off my shoulders, but I have to go up against some very, very solid battlers in the conference. People like Uzi Gunner, who won the NPL Minors Tryout Tournament. I have to battle Verd. I have to battle Mondatui. I have to battle Frysender, Ashton, Andrew, and Donaki. Those are the other people in my conference. The minors is only 7 weeks long, but it's going to be a grind in my case, because when you put all those people together, you see them battle and all that stuff, and then there's someone like me trying to like fit in with them, and it's just it just feels like I'm just stuck in the middle, and I'm just going to be like, okay, I'm just going to, hopefully I won't get overwhelmed by this person or that person, hopefully I don't screw up. But yeah, I'm gonna try my best. I am not going to like roll over and just give in against people like this. This is the team I drafted. I'm going to prepare my butt off in every single game. And I'm going to try my best to make it to the playoffs, and more importantly, try to win and move up to the NPL Majors, which is pretty much what every team in the minors want to do, move up into the majors. And only the top 2 teams are guaranteed a spot in the NPL Majors, and the third place team in the majors, the third place team in the minors battles the third worst team in the majors to see who will make it to the minors. If it does come to that, and if I do make it to third place, then best 2 out of 3 against the third worst person in the majors. But that is going to be all for this recap. If you guys enjoyed this analysis, or my team in general, or what you would have done differently with my draft, feel free to leave a comment in the section. Feel free to hit the like button if you enjoyed The next video regarding the NPL minors will be uploaded on the 16th, which is when I will have played my week 1 battle, and my week 1 opponent is Freisender and the Rotterdam Star Raptors. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that battle as much as I am. But until the next time, I am going to get the heck out of here. My name is Anthony, aka Tone, and I am going to catch you guys on the flip side. Later.